You haven't even played a chord yet, and you're jamming away at lead guitar playing. So you can create the major scale on a piece of paper or on your fretboard escalator. Big deal. What does that do for you? Well, what we need to do is transfer that knowledge and information now in the simplest way possible over to your guitar. And the way to do that is to lay it all out on one string. Just the high, what they call the high E string, but is actually the low note. So what we're going to do is we're going to first lay it out on the fretboard escalator. You can do this with a piece of paper as well, but it's easier for me to show you on the fretboard escalator. So we're going to place our scale intervals as we know from our major scale interval list, which we have a list of half steps, which is 3 and 4 and 7 and 1. So let's go with scale intervals. So we know if we want to be in the scale of F major, the 1 has to be the F. Whole step away from F, that's your 2, and that's a G. Whole step away from 2 is 3. Between 3 and 4 is our half step. It's our half step list, so we put our 4 there, half step away. 5 is a whole step away. 6 is also a whole step away. 7 is a whole step away. And now 7 and 1 is our other half step. Now I've added one extra fretboard escalator slice just to show that the scale begins to repeat, and at the 12th fret it all starts over again. But for this tutorial, I'm just going to remove this to save any confusion. So we have 12 frets here. Starting on your first fret, which is F, you've got your major scale laid out in front of you. So what we're going to do is turn our circle of fifths dial, or you can use a circle of fifths off the internet, and we're going to change this to F major. Now, we remember that when we built chords, we used the 1, the 3, and the 5 of the scale to build a chord. So no different here. When we're going to play over top of something else, they call it chord targeting, chord tone targeting. So our chord tones are 1, 3, and 5. Or if you want to think in letters, it's going to be F, A, and C. Anytime that we play over top of an F major chord with the F major scale, the 1, the 3, and the 5 are going to sound great because, well, they're part of the chord. So it's kind of obvious that they're going to sound good. Now, if you just played those notes of that chord over and over again, that's going to be a pretty boring solo. It's going to be a pretty boring lead line or lick or whatever you want to make up, or riff. Because that's the goal here, is eventually make up your own riffs. I mean, it's also great to learn other people's songs, but you'll be able to write your own music. Okay, so the next step here now is let's play this on the guitar. So we have our guitar and we have our fretboard escalator or piece of paper showing us our major scale with the scale intervals. So as we know, this is an F major scale, so we're going to start with F with our first finger on the 1 note. Now, I want you to say the interval names as you play it, and just listen to the major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So that is the major scale. Now, played over top another chord, like the F major chord, each of those notes of the scale is going to give you a completely different feeling than just being played on their own. So, and each of them has names like supertonic and tonic and subdominant, but I just want you to, and for myself, I want to just see what it feels like, see what it sounds like. What do I want to happen when I hear that note? And you'll know what I'm saying when you hear the notes. So the 1 obviously is the F. So if we look at our circle of fifths, the 1 is an F. Now an F in an F chord is going to sound like really, it's going to blend in perfectly. There's going to be no sort of feeling it's going to create for me other than it being F. And now if we go to the 3, it's the A, and the C is the 5. So those are what make up the major chord, those 3 notes. So they're not going to be super interesting, but they're going to sound nice. The other notes in between, the 2, the 4, the 5, the 6, and the 7, those are what's going to sound interesting when played over top of the F major chord. All right, let's start the F major chord. Now this is what's called a drone sound. I'll put a link in the description. Just go to this YouTube site and play the F major drone sound. And then you can change keys and you can use any other key that's there. But for now, just use the F major drone sound for your own. Sorry, I just have to interrupt for 1 second. I just mentioned that you could select any other drone sound off of that YouTube site that I'm linking below. But firstly, you have to select a major key for the drone sound. And second, you might want to adjust your fretboard escalator if you're working with a fretboard escalator. I'll show you how to do that really quick. So right now we're showing that we are using the F major key for this scale, for the major scale. And let's say we pick a G major drone sound. So you take the front plate off, and then you slide the G over to where the 1 is. So hopefully we can keep that on the camera. Put the G underneath the 1, of course, as you know, that's how you build a scale, from the 1. And you take these pieces off this end and slide them on that end. So now, as we can see, we've got our 2 half steps between 7 and 1 and 3 and 4, and full steps everywhere else. So now you can follow this along, and you can target the 1, the 3, and the 5. You could also then adjust your circle of fifths dial from the key of F major to the key of G major. Okay? All right. So what I'm going to do is start that up now. And I'm just going to play over top of it. We're going to start with the 1, and you should say the scale interval so that you know which one you're playing and what the feeling it is it's creating. So we're going to do the 1. I mean, it's pretty expected. The 1, it's part of the chord, right? Now let's see what the 2 sounds like. Definitely not part of the chord. Not bad, it just feels like it needs to go somewhere. Now the 2, a lot of people say, feels like it wants to go to the 1. So let's try doing that. Go from 2 to 1. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Let's see what the 3 sounds like. So just look at your fretboard escalator. You can see exactly where you need to be for the 3, which is an A in this case. You can also see the A here. It's part of the chord, but it sounds different than the 1, 2, 3. Let's see with the 4. Ooh, I like the 4. 4 is great. The 4 wants to lead to the 3. You'll hear that. I'm going to go back to the 3. Very nice. 2. And back to the 1. So the 1, 2, 3, and 4. You notice if you just play them quickly, you're not taking a moment to see what that tension feels like. That's why I'm forcing you to do it slowly. Didn't teach me anything. This. Of what's happening here. All right, let's move a little further along. We're at the 4. What's the 5? What do you think the 5 is going to sound like? Now, as we know, the chord is built from the 1, the 3, and the 5, so the 5 is going to sound pretty clean, right? So let's go from the 4 to the 5. Yeah, that's to be expected. Sounds great. Let's go for the 6. Once it goes somewhere, let's move to the 7. Oh, and the 7 is just screaming, just to me screaming to go to the 1. And as we know, the 1 repeats. So that being said, this is our 12th fret, which is the same as our open string. Wants to go to the 1. Let's try it with the open string. Same feeling. Now, take your time and just go through the notes. Don't make up a riff. Just see how it feels. And I have nothing planned. I'm just gonna see what these feel like as I move around the fretboard. play it a couple of times, and then change the last one. Let's go to the 5. Okay, now all that being said, we're on the high E string. Let's go an octave higher to the low E string or the high pitched E string, and just see what the 3 and the 4 feel like. Just stay with the 3 and 4. Notice how that just resolves nicely on the 3? That's what people say they want to resolve to a chord tone. The 3 is a chord tone. The 1 is a chord tone. 1, 1, 1, 2. Resolve to the 1. Let's move it up. I mean, these two are, it's the 5 and the 6. They're not resolving. It feels like I need to go somewhere. Let's go to the 1. Call it resolved. You can do this, and you haven't even played a single chord. So, let's just pause that. Okay, you get the idea. Now you're getting the feelings of what are the root, third, and fifth of a scale played over the chord. Okay, that's fantastic. I love that. I love just listening to that. All right, so the next step is to find a jam track in the key of F major. You can find it on YouTube, or if you've got a Positive Grid, Spark, that sort of a thing, just cue up an F major jam track. And you can use that scale that you've just learned, either on the low or the high E string. It's more fun on the high E string, I think, when you're doing a little bit of lead work. And play over it. Just listen to the tones and think about resolving. You're already going to start thinking about chord tones, the 1, the 3, and the 5. You're in the key of F major, right? The 1, the 3, and the 5. The F, A, and the C are what you're going to look at resolving. So now I'm going to put together a quick little jam track here with a 1, 4, 5 chord progression. So looking at the circle of fifth style in the key of F major, a 1, a 4, and a 5 chord progression is going to be an F, a B flat or A sharp, and a C for a chord progression. Okay? All we're going to worry about is just the key of F as it applies to the major scale. So the only chord tones you're going to target are the F. You're not going to change your chord tone targeting for the other 2 chords. That'll come later. Just start out by every time the turnaround comes or that F comes back into play, you want to land on a 1, a 3, or a 5 and see how you like it. And that's going to be hard to do. So just wait for the F to come around again and play the 1, the 3, and the 5 over it. And then add in like a note right next to it in the scale. And then just kind of bounce back and forth and wait for that F to come around again. Just to get the feeling of what chord tone targeting does compared to noodling. Okay, I'm going to start it up, and we're going to keep this as simple as possible. Got kind of a rockin' sound here. Just 3 major chords, F major, B flat major, and C major, playing over and over again. So let's just start with the chord tone. That's F. It's going to sound good, right? It's a 1-note riff. Now when the F comes back around, what I'm going to do is I'm going to zip over to the 3. Okay? Let's go to 3. Just get a feeling of that 3 over top of There's the F again. There's the A sharp and the C, and here comes the F. Now let's go to the 5. Let's go to the 5 sound. Ready? Here comes the F. Now it works on the other 2 chords. It works on the A sharp and it works on the C. But the F is where it really rings true, and that's where chord tone targeting comes in. If you're going to start thinking about it already, that's great. So here comes the F. Okay, sounds good. Now like I said, pick a chord tone, clear F, and then while the A and the C are playing, play a note beside it in the scale. So we'll start with a 3. The F. Now it's changed, so let's just play something else, anything else, while we wait for the F to come back around. Here's the F. Now you hear there's 3 chord changes here. You've got F, B flat, and C. So it's kind of boring staying on that one note. Let's add in another note in the scale for while we're playing the C, which is the 5 chord. So let's start with F. Okay, now let's add in 2 notes. F. Now back to the F. We got the root, the 3. Back to the 3. Resolving on that 3. We did the same thing resolving on the 1. So starting on the 1. Back to the 1. We can just hang out on the 1 while we wait, kind of gather our thoughts. Resolving on the 1 when we hit the F. We can do the same thing further up the fretboard on the 12th fret. Let's get a little more interesting. So back to the F, we're going to resolve on the 1. Maybe take 2. Bars of it to come back to the 1, but who cares? Alright, should we try resolving on the 5? Be interesting. There's our 5. Let's wait for the F. It's kind of weird. Whatever, I'm just noodling around. I went all the way up to the 7, it kind of sounded odd, so maybe we won't do that again. If we keep it plain and simple, we're going to come back to the F on the 5, and maybe we'll go down this time instead of up the fretboard. So 5. So 5 over the F. Back to the 5. Let's go back to the 1 now. The idea. Okay, again, this channel is not about you watching me play, because it's about getting an idea of what all these terms are and me hopefully helping you to become a far better guitar player than I'll ever be. So those are very, very simple lines. We had a 3-chord progression, a 1-4-5 chord progression in the key of F, which is 1, 4, and 5, F, B flat, or A sharp, and C. And every time the F came around, we were targeting the 1 of the scale, which was here, or we were targeting the 3, or we were targeting the 5. Or sometimes we were up at the 12th fret targeting the octave higher on the 1. So play around with it. Find some jam tracks and start jamming. You haven't even played a chord yet, and you're jamming away at lead guitar playing. So you've got this. So that's the end of the lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some value out of it. But the number one thing I really hope for you is that you can see that music theory is not for expert guitarists. You've just learned enough that you can jam along in the key of F major. We're going to learn this together, and you're going to get better every single time. I promise I'll keep it easy and simple. You got through lesson 1, you got through some of the theory part, now we're going to put it into practice. I'll see you next time.